What is up, everybody? Hope you are having a fantastic evening. You got your boy Jesse representing the 49ers. You got Jake representing the Rams. You've got Mike representing the Cardinals. And you've got Brandon representing the Seahawks. And for those of you that don't know, we normally throughout the regular season do an NFC West Roundtable. You just literally type in NFC West Roundtable. We'll pop up. Every single week we do a show together, but during the off season, it's very sporadic because, there's not a lot always to talk about during the off season. So with that being said, when we are not live over there once a week, we will be doing this on all of our channels once a week. So we're going to have basically representation from every single team and every single channel. We're going to do this probably every other week throughout the off season. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I think this is the perfect week to start, though, guys, because we are essentially a week away from free agency, but all the fun has already started. All the rumors are already swirling. Players are already getting cut. Teams are scrambling to sign their guys so they don't hit free agency. There's a lot of moving parts. I could do a whole show right now on just all the craziness going on with the 49ers. But before I get to the 49ers that have a lot of craziness, I've heard some things going on with each one of your teams. The team I've heard the least amount about, though, is the Arizona Cardinals, Mike. I don't know what the rumors are going out of there. Like early on, I heard that they might, that they might be in on Myles Garrett or what have you. But I don't know what is going on with the Cardinals. Like, what are the rumors that have been happening this offseason with them? I will say their front office does an awesome job of staying tight-lipped. I will say that. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, for the Cardinals, you're right. What you heard is pretty much what I heard too. There's really no rumors going on. This is probably one of the deadest, rumor off season we had in a very long time. And, there's some good things to obviously go along with that as well, to make sure everything stays in house and nothing gets leaked, which is a really good thing for the front office and everybody that works there. The only really thing that really happened this off season for the Cardinals is we've changed and got a new offensive line coach and some other coaches that are on the bottom. But other than that, like, the only rumor was only kind of made by like media for New York, and I'm talking about the New York Jets, because obviously with the Aaron Rodgers thing, it wasn't even a report. It was more a suggestion about them reaching after Kyler Murray and reaching out for him. And then Colin Cowherd about a month and a half ago said that the Cardinals were going to potentially move off of him. So that's kind of like what all we had, like feeding off like anything. Like we didn't have anything. Like literally it was dry for months and months and months after the Super Bowl, and even in January as well. So just new coaches. There was rumors about Kyler Murray potentially being floated around, but like every time you hear Monty Ossenfort and the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals and the head coach Jonathan Gannon, they're very, very gung-ho about going into it with 2025 with Kyler Murray. And it makes sense. Like, his contract was a very, very big cap hit, and his guarantees actually end in 2025. Technically signed up, I believe, till 2027, 2028, if I'm not mistaken. But like 2025 is where the guarantees actually stop. So it makes all the perfect sense in the world that the Cardinals are going to be running it back again with Kyler Murray, bringing in some more talented guys via draft, via free agency. But man, rumors, I think Jake and you guys, 49ers, you guys have a lot more rumors than we got going on. Unfortunately, I wish I had more stuff
with
to
you
talk
guys.
about.
So much drama. I'm over here with Mike. Man, we're just here in the cut.
Well, you guys have had some rumors, though, Brandon. At the very least, there's been some things swirling around one DK Metcalf, right? And the future of Geno Smith. So I gotta know what's going on over there in Seahawk land.
I got a whole conspiracy on this one, where what I think the Seahawks were attempting to do, as you heard, it was the Green Bay Packer organization that they had supposedly, that the Packers had reached out. A couple of reporters from both the two teams were confirming their background sources on this. My theory is this, though. I don't think there's an intention of moving DK Metcalf, especially at the going rate for what you'd get for a receiver like this, which is basically a first and a third round pick. What they were attempting to kind of see is maybe if there's a way to, push through on that and get a little bit more for what is going to be a very weak free agent class as far as wide receivers is concerned, and also a weak draft, relatively speaking, as far as receivers are concerned. So that's going to up more of a market if you have a receiver out there that's kind of more primed. And that's what I think they were looking at this from, and why I think there's a conspiracy to this is I think What they were doing was saying, John, let me get to my sources over here in Green Bay. He comes from that organization. They're very tightly aligned. He says, hey, let's do this. Let's leak it out from both of our two sources that this is going on. Let's see what that drums up as far as actual interest out there on the open market. Green Bay gets a win as well because their fans are starting to turn up the heat, bring some pitchforks, bring some torches as far as saying, hey, you guys never go for the big time signings. You never go for the big receivers. They've got the stories of Brett Favre pining for Randy Moss through all those years. And that fan base is starting to kind of go, look, we like you did Jacobs. We like you did McKinney, but that stuff worked. Do more of that. And so they get to come back to them and say, hey, look, we tried. We went up the flagpole. We had a relatively good offer out there to them, but they didn't want to do it. So, you guys can understand why we didn't do it. And John can get his win where he can actually find out what the true value would be out there, which I think all brings it back around to DK Price signing an extension. And Gino, they're just starting the extensions this week, which I think does mean that a deal is going to get done. But I've also said that I think there's a bit of a domino process back with the Raiders, where the interest of Stafford by the Raiders shows you that Carroll is not sitting back going, I'm going to take my time with this. I'm going to gently build this up. He wants to get a quarterback in there right now. So Stafford off the board. Sam Darnold looks like he's off the board there to the Vikings. We come back around now to maybe Geno Smith being a prime target there for the Raiders to reach out if negotiations don't click in fully. But like I said, I'm expecting them to click in fully between the team and Geno.
Interesting. Okay. Jake, dude. Mike is right. It's basically the Rams and the 49ers dominating the rumored mill, not only for the NFC West, but for the whole NFL. I mean, there's enough soap opera drama going on every day with these two organizations. Some of it has been cleared up. Obviously, Matthew Stafford is staying. That was very touch and go, I know, for a while. You dang near had an aneurysm. But they've also made a trade today, Jonah Jackson, which I watch your videos, Jake. I'm pretty sure you literally suggested Jonah Jackson to the Bears a few days ago, and that's exactly what happened, which is absolutely crazy that you got that. And then let's see, you got the Cooper Kupp things, you got Devontae Adams. Like, what isn't happening over there? Is there anything that I missed?
No, I think that's it. No, it's been wild. I think really now that they have Stafford, like that's done, because that was not, regardless of what people want to say, it wasn't being made up. All the Raiders' interest was real. And it wasn't just interest. Like that thing got way closer than they wanted. So much so Sean McVay's doing damage control not long after going on Pat McAfee, and Dan Patrick was not born yesterday. There's a reason for all of this. So, now that Stafford's back, they have an idea of what they're going to do. They can build for the future while also winning now. And I think that's something that needs to be said, because I think quite often I've seen it with Rams fans is, are we going all in or are we focusing on the future? Well, you can do both. Obviously, quarterback, that's a question mark long-term, but right now, Stafford, I would say, gives them another 2 years, maybe 3. Sean McVay alluded to next year won't be the same deal where it shouldn't take as long. And so I look at it, guys, as this. Now that Stafford's back, we don't know about the whole deal with Kupp. Like, I mean, does he come back? Like, eventually, I think he'll be traded. But when you trade away Cooper Kupp, I think a lot of people in the room go, that's part of that Super Bowl run. He's played every single year of his career with Sean McVay, and Sean McVay's coached every single year of his career with Cooper Kupp. But I don't think it necessarily signals to anything other than the money is a problem. $29.7 million cap, hit with him. And I think they also want to get younger at the position. Now, does that mean no Devontae Adams? No, I don't think it means that at all. I think just, Adams being cut by the Jets, I think gives them an opportunity. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the Michael Mayer trade. I just did a video on it before we went live. I think it's a perfect fit for the Rams. You get the tight end position taken care of, not just here and now, but long-term, in my opinion, because not one piece of his tape shows me that this guy is being traded for any other than they got Brock Bowers, and he's not overly excited about his role currently. I mean, the guy still has it. The tape is there. He can create separation. He can go up and high point the football. He can block in line. He can work, as a slot or outside. So I think he creates a lot there for the Rams, and I think they should go after him. As I said, they should bring in Adams. For the most part, though, the big thing was re-signing Alec Jackson before free agency. Youngest offensive tackle on the market, so really like that they did that. I like the direction the Rams are going in. And I mean, now that Stafford's back, I think we can all agree the Rams are a top 3 team in the NFC, at least as of right now. We'll see what they do moving forward.
I just want to say it was fun watching. Yeah. It was fun watching Jake as he was starting to come to the peace process with Stafford moving on. And then Rodgers, here comes Rodgers over the horizon to him. It's like you put a kid into a roller coaster and you don't put the strap in, you don't put the click in, you just go, see ya, and he's off. And I could just see you kind of in that same way. Okay, we're gonna do this. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I was ready, man. You all saw it on Twitter. I was ready. I move on quickly, but Stafford, that would have been really painful. He's been one of my favorite players long before he came to the Rams. So that would have hurt. As much as I like Rodgers, and I do like him, and I'll tell you, he's not washed. I still think he could play at a decently high level, especially if you put him in a good offense. Cough, cough, not Nathaniel Hackett. But with that said,
he wanted this.
Yeah,
Stafford is the only quarterback I wanted. I've said it before and I'll say it again. As much as I love Josh Allen, I believe he is the best quarterback in the league. I would not take a single quarterback over Matthew Stafford because they're not paying him to win in September, November, October, December. They're paying him to win in January. He has outplayed every single quarterback he has gone up against in his 7 postseason games with the Rams. They're 5-2. There's nobody I'd rather have under center.
Makes sense.
Everybody check the private chat. I've got a bonus topic that I think will be fun. It might be therapeutic for each one of us. So 49ers, my gosh, man. Literally right before we went live, more stuff started coming out. Jason Lockenfor, for those who have not seen it, I'll drop this on everybody because it is pretty fresh within the last hour. Jason Lockenfor tweeted out, basically, the 49ers are up to their old ways. They've offered offering Brock Purdy $45 million a year is certainly a choice. So basically saying he way undercutting what Brock Purdy should be getting paid, and it's insulting to Brock Purdy. I think it was pretty funny, but
Jesse, is there
I think it's the right move.
Soft fire sale, or is this just a tightening of the belt?
Well, that's the thing, Brandon. I don't know. Because everything they're saying is we want to be contenders, but everything they're doing is we're building towards the future.
Yeah.
So I really don't know what to make of what's going on. I feel like the 49ers, and they said it this offseason, Kyle Shanahan said it, we've never truly gone all in. They're always 1 foot into this year and 1 foot into the future. They're trying to keep a contender going. But to me, guys, you know this. I've been calling for this since the Chiefs lost very early in the season. It was time to rebuild then at the trade deadline when they had just beaten Dallas. It was time to move on from a lot of these guys that it sounds like they are willing to move on from. And for me, it was like you take the 1 down year, you take the major cap hits, and then in 2026, you've got a ton of money. You still have some good players to build around. You've got a good foundation. That's the route that you take. And they've set themselves up for that. They can certainly go that route, but then they could also sign 2 or 3 big name free agents that cost a lot of money that are 29, 30 years old. And then it's like, well, we're doing the same thing we always did. So I don't know what to expect from these guys. I really don't.
Well, the Hargrave one, sorry, Dinner, but the Hargrave one is the big thing that, to me, the others kind of make sense. We're okay with Ayuk, you're getting ahead of that. The reconstruction of the knee, maybe not going to be the same player. Totally can see where even for some fans, they go, oh, you can't move Ayuk. But that's the one to me where there's not a significant amount of savings unless it's the post-Junior, and it just feels like one where that feels as much anything like he's not been that good, but you're not gaining a lot by the really, especially the cost as it hits.
Well, they had actually restructured his contract so they could cut him post-June 1st. And now all of a sudden they're shopping him. And if they do that, then it's like, well, the whole cutting post-June 1st and saving the money this year doesn't make any sense because you're taking the cap hit this year anyways. So the restructure, accomplish nothing essentially. So yeah, I honestly, I don't know what the plan is. I really don't. But one thing I think is clear is that Jed York and the ownership is tired of spending cash
Yeah.
or a non-winner. And that's the way that it is. So he's looking at it saying, well, these guys, I don't care what the cap ramifications are. These guys are owed money at deadlines, and I don't want to pay them because I don't think they're helping us win. I feel like, and the rumors started to swirl that basically this last offseason, Jed York and some of the front office guys, aka Parag Marate, who's like our cap wizard guru guy, they were upset with the Debo deal, the Bosa deal a couple of years ago, the Ayuk deal, the Trent reworking, CMC, all of it. But they allowed John Lynch and Shanahan to do these things because they were told that this was going to get them a Super Bowl, and it didn't happen. They got worse, and now he's pissed off and is probably like, listen, I'm closing my pocketbooks on cash, trim the fat, and then I'll spend again next year. That's the feeling I get, but nobody's going to come out and say that. So I don't know.
The crazy thing about your guys' 49ers is you guys got a roster to compete. It's just you guys had a lot of injuries, but not that, but you guys are also aging as well. So I'm so curious to figure out what you guys are going to do with Brock Purdy. I mean, obviously that's a big question. I don't think the front office knows what the hell they're doing, honestly. So if you're confused, I'm pretty sure they're darn confused as well. But you're saying, back to that tweet you're saying $45 million was going to be undercutting him, is what that tweet was saying?
That's what Jason was saying in the tweet, because they're saying, Purdy and his team are saying, they want top of the market. They want the 60 million. That's the rumors. So the fact that the 49ers are coming in at 45, obviously they're pretty far apart. And that has been the reports, that they've been far apart. So
with Mike, it's like, from his people's perspective, how did they not ask for another million more per season than what Tua got? And why is it not on their part a valid argument to be made as far as regarding the asking price? Not that I know that you wouldn't pay it, I wouldn't pay it, but that from his people's perspective, that's the way the game works on their side. And that's going to maybe be one of this continues down the line, Hargrave, this, you come to that one, Jesse, and like, is it out of the realm that, you guys make the run at Aaron Rodgers now? You guys become the second through the door on this one. And
come on, Jesse, it's like we talked about. I would do it, by the way. I would trade Purdy and I would sign Aaron Rodgers. I would do it.
I mean, you would have
Jesse, you've got to spend $53 million, to Jake's point, and it's getting you out of the 53, buddy.
Rodgers,
it's 1 year of that.
He's not going to be Russell Wilson.
Saving $53 million a year.
Yeah,
how do you
he's not going to be Russell Wilson getting $1 million, but he's making like $40 million, like in this like buyout, if you will. I mean, that's basically what it is. Basically a buyout. So he's going to be cheap. He really is. And I don't know. I would do it. If I was the 49ers, I would absolutely go after Rodgers. I would trade away Brock Purdy if I can't come to an agreement, because Brock Purdy's value is when you're not paying him. And now you have to pay him the money. And it's like, I don't know, because he doesn't have those first round traits that you do pay. Right. So in addition to that, you're also dealing with that Tommy John surgery on his resume. You're dealing with some of the issues he has. And to me, I just feel like he's kind of damaged goods, where I think he's a solid quarterback, but where's the upside? Because I just, is he getting better, or like, I feel like he's kind of topped out. And that's the thing, like, where I think you get Rodgers, you trade Purdy away, and you look at a really good quarterback class, in my opinion, in 2026, which I think other teams will have that, idea. But worst comes to worst, Rodgers has a horrible year, right? And then the 49ers have a great pick, and maybe they go out and, they get a guy like Arch Manning or somebody, or Rodgers has a great year. Now you aren't in that position to get Arch Manning, but now you have a chance to maybe win a Super Bowl and turn it around. Because anybody that thinks the 49ers are buried and they're dead, you haven't been watching football long enough. This thing is wide open in this division. I mean, I do think the Rams are the favorite, but I mean, the Cardinals, we've talked about getting a closer, like a true closer as a pass rusher. That would be huge for them. The Seahawks, they have plenty of talent on paper. I have no worry if I'm a Seahawks fan about them competing this year. And the 49ers, they still have plenty of talent. And the best thing they could have done was getting rid of Deebo Samuel. So they, got better just doing that. But now, you talk about having a higher pick, having an easier schedule, and you could start to see how there's a pathway there for the 49ers with Rodgers at the helm, not paying Brock Purdy, having the draft capital from trading Brock Purdy to actually go out there and compete this year and set yourself up for the future.
Well, you get Adams with Rodgers, right? Like that would almost be a lock. So, listen, I'm
on the
I'm
West
not
Coast especially.
I thought Rodgers and Adams made a lot of sense in a dome. If Stafford had been traded, I don't want to pay Brock, but I'm good. I'm cool on Rodgers. I'm not saying he's washed. A lot of people think he's washed. I think he played pretty good football. He's washed for Rodgers standards, but he's still a top, like at worst 17 quarterback in the league at his wash stage. But I just don't. I don't know. I'm cool on the whole Rodgers experiment. Like at that point, if you're ripping the Band-Aid off, then do something completely new.
So 50 million, you're going 50 million Brock because it's an either or.
No. Hold on. If it's one year of Rodgers, would you rather? I'll take the 1 year of Rodgers over 50 million Brock. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're getting at.
Too, right?
I was going to ask that question.
You're with this too, right, Mike? As far as you take the same approach, you're the Niners.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at like the quarterbacks that are getting paid, and you're right, Brandon. I mean, you have quarterbacks that are getting paid the $50 million, like Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, even Kyler Murray's getting paid 46, but he got extended, a while back, about 2 or 3 years ago. So I mean, that is market. So I mean, if Brock Purdy wants to get that and he wants to get market, you gotta have to pay him market. I mean, I'm curious if I want you guys to do it. I really do. Please do it.
Yeah, I bet you do. You hear that, Niner fans? Go around the panel. Every single one of them would be happy if we paid him a bunch of money. That's never a good sign. PGZ says, I like this. Well, PGZ, pinned to the top of the chat, at least on my side of the house, and I did see it floating around in these guys' chats as well, is NFC West Roundtable. You can click on that. It's a channel that we do together under Roundtable Sports, but that channel is pretty dormant during the offseason. I think we have a stream next week. But it's kind of sporadic throughout the offseason. And then during the regular season, we go full tilt every single week. You'll see the 4 of us together. We just figured since it's the offseason, we like doing shows together. We would get together every other week and do it on our platform. So you can expect this during the offseason. But if you really want to tap in, definitely check it out. Roundtable Sports, NFC West Roundtable. We are there every single week throughout the regular season. Dave Sims, this is Dave Barclay. You guys are fully aware. Says, what's up, guys? Dave? Jesse, tell him who this is. Oh, that's what I just did, actually. That's so funny. I didn't even read the comment. Jeffrey says, how does it feel knowing Hawks have been the most consistently good team in the NFC West? Rest of you have moments, though. Good for you. I don't know. I mean, have they been? Is that true? I don't know that that's true.
They've been consistently not at the bottom.
Yeah,
it's
consistently mediocre.
Middle of the road.
Jake said the best. I think he said it a while back. They're like the cockroaches. Like they just don't go away, right? There's like the cockroaches at the end of the way. They don't go away.
I swear I stepped on that thing. How do you flatten them?
Yeah. Their worst year is 7-10. Like they're not doing worse than that.
Yeah.
Dave did start his own YouTube channel. He's a builder in Montana, so he started his own YouTube channel. He's awesome. Going around like I almost said reinventing. What is it called? Renovating. God, renovating houses.
Reinventing houses.
That's what he does. He's also reinventing them, which is crazy. I would check it out. Megan says, "Hail, hail! The gang's all here. Great to have you back, boys." Megan is an Aussie Seahawks fan. Tap it in.
Oh, thank you, Megan.
We've got my brother from another mother. Yeah, that was awesome. But round of applause for $50. Yeah. That was awesome. Thanks, Megan. Thank you. John Naylor, brother from another mother, says the Fantastic Four of the NFC West.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate it. Oh, see, now Megan gave 50 and another 10. Now she's going to talk a little trash to Jake.
There we go.
For Jake to have an aneurysm, doesn't he need a brain? Ask for a friend. I love you, Jake.
Oh, man.
Dang.
You know it's all good fun coming from Megan,
Absolutely.
But she's got to talk her trash. Jeffrey says, as long as the Rams have Stafford, they got a shot. I miss when he was a pick machine gunslinger. Dude doesn't even make mistakes anymore. He tries to. I will say he definitely tries to make mistakes, but DBs just don't like to pick him off, which is crazy.
He's got so much velocity. They can't, those corners,
No.
they always say they're
I
corners
know.
for a reason.
Jeffrey comes back and says the Cards are the warm weather team. They're going to boat race some teams early and get cold late in the season. They are the Dolphins.
That's terrible.
That's actually a pretty good observation because you guys do
It
start
is.
hot
I
every
like
year.
it.
That is kind
I
of
was like, oh, got him.
good.
Got him, Jeff. Got him.
Michael is clearly coming from one of your channels because he says, pay Purdy $75 million a year, please. There we go. He's coming
No,
from-
that's
all right,
definitely a
see?
49er fan.
No, he's just that's a well-informed. That's
Right.
an even keel, unbiased. You got your biases, Jesse. This is an
That's my guy
unbiased.
Card. That's my Cardinal fan right there. Let's go.
Got your biases.
Oh my God.
Megan says, off to watch the Kraken. Love me some hockey. Talk soon. We appreciate you, Megan. Thank you so much for
Appreciate
showing
you, Megan.
support
Appreciate
as
you.
always. All right, y'all. We'll go opposite of what we just went. So we'll end with you this time around, Mike, and we'll start with Jake. What are some free agent expectations you have for the Rams? Whether it's a player that you want them to sign, maybe it's free agents that you are on the current roster that you want brought back. Like, what are the expectations you have for free agency in the Rams, Jake?
Yeah, I've maintained my consistency in this belief that I think they should bring back the majority of the guys, at least the key guys that they have free agents. I do know that the Rams are trying to bring back two of them because Sean McVay told us all on Pat McAfee. Hoping one of those is Akello Witherspoon. I really do think they need to bring him back. I think he makes a lot of sense at corner. I think Bobby Brown in the interior. He did voice his displeasure about his role on Twitter, but I think he still wants to be I know you guys probably saw that, but I know he still wants to be a Ram and the Rams still like him. So there's a chance they bring him back. Also, Michael Hoyt. I mean, this guy blocked 3 kicks. He's a huge, rotational piece, but also they started using, that cheetah package where they had 3 edge defenders on the field at once. And they really had a lot of success with him. Kind of a heart and soul type of guy. You don't want to lose a guy like that. So I'd like to see them bring those 3 guys back to start. Then I would like to see them add Davante Adams. Now, Jake, 2-3 weeks ago would be freaking out right now on me because I didn't want Davante Adams. But when I was watching Rodgers, because I thought Rodgers was going to be the quarterback of the Rams, I just kept watching Davante Adams look like he did 4 years ago. And I just don't think people realize. They look at, he's going to be 33 this year, or is 33 this year. But they don't talk about, this guy hasn't really dropped off. When you look at his ability to win, in a multitude of ways, especially on the outside, being that X receiver, that is what the Rams are lacking. And so you have this guy that can contort his body and make all these crazy catches near the sideline. And he's so good when you're throwing that back shoulder fade that, yeah, Rodgers throws that well. But you know who else throws it well? Matthew Stafford. And so I think he fits a lot of what Stafford wants in a wide receiver. Cooper Kupp is likely not going to be back. So I think you bring him in for a year, you draft a receiver, whether that's, Ibuka or Golden or whoever at 26, and you can have him kind of mentoring some of these younger receivers on the team, whether that be a Puka Nacua, who's already been mentored by Cooper Kupp, or even, a Jordan Whittington. But I think first and foremost, bring back the 3 guys I was saying on the defensive side. Go after Davante Adams. I would love to see them go after another Jet player, Jamian Sherwood. Now, I know he has a lot of connections to the 49ers because of Saleh. A lot of expectations that he'll probably end up there. But, I could see him going to, a multitude of places, including the Falcons, where, Jeff Ulbricht ended up going. So I don't know necessarily where he's going to go. I don't even know if the Rams will have interest. They normally don't pay linebackers. That's why when they paid Bobby Wagner, that was kind of a shock. But I do think that they should go linebacker spot, whether that's a Nick Bolton or Jamian Sherwood. I think they need to try and do that. So really just those 2 things. I mean, tight ends, I'll be honest with you, I don't love the tight end group at all. I like Juwan Johnson. I think he's a good player. I'm not paying Juwan Johnson. I just like him, like his game. Like he's a good, probably the best tight end on the market. But, I have interest in, maybe a potential Ty Johnson, reuniting with Mike LaFleur, was with him with the Jets could be a good change of pace back. And then in addition to that, Zach Wilson. I know they pretty much want Garoppolo back, and if Garoppolo wants to come back, he's got a home as the backup quarterback. But if they do want to go a little bit of a different approach and not focus on the 2026 NFL draft at quarterback, like I believe they're going to, Zach Wilson to me is a no-brainer there. Who, Mike LaFleur did, coordinate with the Jets, would be open to it, according to, a report last year from Albert Breer. So that's intriguing. But aside from that, I think that they've really done a nice job bringing back Alec Jackson, getting Stafford back, and trading away Jonah Jackson. I think the one thing I would have them do on the offensive line is I want Jedrick Wills. And I'd like to, see if maybe you can add him for cheap, put him over at the right side where I think he's a natural right tackle. The tape shows that in college. And you have him backing up Rob Habenstein, who's, confirmed to be back this year. This is probably his last year. It is his last year under contract. If you get him on a 2-year deal and kind of just, give him the idea like, yeah, you'll be our starter next year, I think that could be a sneaky addition, very similar to when the Eagles picked up Mekhi Becton. So that's how I have everything kind of figured out there. Probably missing some stuff, but that's in a nutshell what I want them to do in free agency.
All right. It is funny because you have changed your tune on Devontae Adams. I remember
I have
the last recording we did, in fact, on the NFC West Roundtable. I think you said something about Devontae Adams, and then I said my bold prediction was he was going to sign with the 49ers. That was before the mass exodus. So, I don't know. I tend to think he might end up with the Rams now. But, Brandon, what about you? What are your expectations for this offseason and free agency in particular?
I think we'll be making a lot of probably signings in-house. We'll eat up a lot of the cap space. We released some guys today, and Lockett's going to probably be released or restructured to create more space. But you're going to probably see a deal done with Geno. You're probably going to see a deal done with DK Metcalf. Ernest Jones is going to get a deal, I would say, probably done as well. I don't know the timeline, but I think they're going to get done. You're going to re-sign Michael Dixon, your punter. There'll still be some money there left over because, like, on the DK and Geno deal, for instance, when you sign them on a new contract, you're going to save on the first year of those deals because you're lowering down their current cap hit. So there's actually more money to be saved on those deals. But here's the issue is that when we've had a lot of money to spend in the past, even upwards of $50 million, John Schneider has a tendency to try these prove-it deals and thinking that you'll get a guy hungry and he's going to go out there and fight on a 1-year deal and aging vet, and it doesn't work out. What we'd like to see from fan base, and everyone's in kind of a consensus, and I don't have to ask you guys that you rarely see consensus amongst the fan base, but the consensus amongst the fan base right now is please go get an offensive lineman. Don't just go draft guys. Let's get something with some certainty in the house, something real, something true. Let's not wish I may, wish I might, on a shooting star. Let's actually get a guy and spend the money to do it. And so Drew Dahlman is obviously the number one target. I'm sure your Niners are going to be in on the mix on that one potentially too, if you guys are in on it. And that's the guy to me that stands out. He's heading into his prime. He's a pure zone fit blocker all day long. I'd love to double dip, Jesse. If I could do a Tevin Jenkins and a Drew Dahlman, and that's almost all you did in free agency, but then you could pivot into the draft with all those re-signings you've made and do whatever the hell you wanted. It would be purely from a value-based standpoint at that point if you could knock those two things out as opposed to walking into it and it being a glaring need into this draft as it stands. So Dahlman, an offensive lineman around those types, Tevin Jenkins type. There's not a lot of really great ones on the market, especially with Trey Smith now franchise tagged. But I think that just in general terms, investment into the line so that you can solidify yourself to the draft to really pick for value, which I don't have to tell you guys is that's the place that you find success in the draft. Drafting for value rather than drafting for need.
All right, I like it. Mike, what about you? What are your expectations? Mr. Moneybags over here. You guys got to play with.
Love it. Love
that one and that one and that
right.
one.
Well, here's the thing.
With those and that color.
Right. One thing that the Cardinals need to absolutely get in front of, and we did hear Monty Ossenfort say that he was going to make this a priority. Maybe we got the rest of the week to actually get this done, but Trey McBride needs to get this extension. We got to get this done. We have to. And I know he has technically a year left, but I think it's a lot easier just to knock it out right now. He had a really good season. Like 1,100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Do it now. He's going to go off next year. I can only feel it. It's going to get more expensive. So this is going to be a priority per Monty Ossenfort. So I would love to see that in free agency. We got a couple other people here that we got our eye on in terms of potentially bringing back. I know the Cardinals maybe have about 6 players that they want to bring back. Players, I think I heard like Roy Lopez, just like kind of positional guys that are rotational guys. They're not big names out there. So there's that. But in terms of free agency, right? Mr. Moneybags. I expect the Cardinals to at least go after two big guys, like two big signings. Now, who those two big signings are, I can only hope it's going to be trenches, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, who I want the Arizona Cardinals to go after. We got to leave this free agency with one of these two guys. One of these two guys, and then the rest can be filled out, and I would be happy camper. One of them being Josh Sweat. I feel like that's the Cardinals. They need to at least make a push to get him on this Arizona Cardinal defensive line. And I get it. If we bring him in, he's not going to be Myles Garrett. He's not going to be, but he's going to be a big upgrade from what the Cardinals currently have right now. So Josh Sweat being one of the guys that I would want. And the second guy is going to be Milton Williams, another Eagle as well. Both of them got connections with Jonathan Gannon and this defense / Nick Rallis as well. So I would love the idea for the Cardinals to get one of these two guys. Hell, if they get both of them, that would be amazing. I just don't see a world where that would happen. But I need the Cardinals to make this defensive line, I was going to say great again. That was never really great, but I want them to make it great. Like, I want them to bring a piece in so we can focus on the 16th overall pick, potentially bringing in another edge player, right? Or another defensive line, because we need help, man. We really do, every which of the imagination. So I'm hoping for the Cardinals to go and be aggressive. What we've seen from Monty Ossenfort so far, it hasn't been his forte, but it's year 3 already. We're running it back with Kyler Murray. Everybody's hoping for a playoff win. And in order for you to do that, like you guys said before, you need a closer. You need a guy that's going to be able to get you over the hump and win you a game or two, right? On the defensive line. So that's my expectation. That's what I would love the Arizona Cardinals to do. The two guys that I would love the Cardinals to bring. Doesn't got to be both, but one of them, either Josh Sweat or Milton Williams, or even Azeez Ojulari. I'm cool with Azeez Ojulari as well, even if it's a guy that's they bring in. Just because I kind of like the idea of the, reuniting the Ojulari brothers. We got BJ that we got in a second round a couple years back. The unfortunate part is that they're so high on him. Like, they really, really like BJ Ojulari, but he's been hurt both years that we've got him, and he was a second round pick for us, unfortunately. So hopefully year 3 is going to be the year for him. I think he's going to have a spot, unless he beats, he's going to have a spot in this the starting rotation for the Cardinals, but we need to get somebody like a Josh Sweat to kind of reinforce our defensive line, because, man, it's brutal, bro. It's brutal.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's say you got a Josh Sweat, which that was right where my mind went to as well. Yep. So I'm sure we're obviously on the same page. Would you also, not in place of or in lieu of, but also, would you be okay with a kind of rekindling of the relationship with Hassan Reddick for a 1-year deal as well?
Yeah, I would. If it was up to me, absolutely. Right now, what we have going on is a completely different regime. And I know there is some players that kind of, look at their organization and says, "Oh, you effed me," or you did me wrong, right? They don't want to go back. There's no ties with Steve Keim and the rest of the regime. There's a brand new regime. So if the money works and if it's a 1-year deal and it's beating everybody else out, because I feel like Hassan Reddick kind of hurt himself, especially with the production when he came back and the way the Jets thing and handled himself. He's not going to get a big deal. He's probably going to have a prove-it deal. So why not come back to the desert? There's a lot of Cardinal fans that would love to see him back as an Arizona Cardinal. Like, it sucked that he slipped away and had pretty consistent years. So I would love the idea, but I think you said it right. Like, if it was that, I still want to see more. Like, we got money. We got money to spend this year. So that won't make me to the point where I'm like, oh, the Cardinals aced it. That's cool. I love that, but also do this as well. So as long as we have a plan in place, and right now I'm putting all my faith and trust in Monty Ossenfort that in year 3, it's going to be a little bit of difference here in free agency, because so far what we've seen was mid-tier players that we brought in. But like they said, we're not ready to compete. And okay, but year 3, this is time, man. It's time to do it. So I want to compete with you guys. I'm ready to hit playoffs.
All right, fair enough. Oh man, yeah. I well, the Hassan Reddick thing. It's interesting because I think this is where he's at in his career now. He screwed himself last year, and I think that he's kind of on that 1 year at a time, hired gun, Jadeveon Clowney type of player now. But when he was with the Cardinals, he started out, they had him in the wrong position the whole time. And once they turned him into a pass rusher, he started to get elite. And then you only got a year of that and he was gone. So anyways, I find it interesting. As far as the 49ers, listen, I had a whole game plan early in the offseason about how they're going to contend again and all these other things. My expectation is don't tie up money long term. I don't care the players you go after. I don't care the age of them, none of it. But I don't want long-term deals for anybody. I want free moving money going into 2026 and beyond. I don't want them to sacrifice 2026 and 2027 for the sake of 2025. So if you're looking at a player and saying, hey, this is a really good decision for 2025, but I'm not so sure about the future, then don't do it. Do not sign that player. It's not worth it. For me, I love the direction that the team is going right now. I love this rebuild stance that they are seemingly taking, but go all in with it. Don't do this half-ass, dip your toe in the water, and then, okay, we've got all this dead money, but now we're also trying to win this year, and we're going to back in that with some bad contracts or a 33-year-old Devontae Adams for 2 years of guaranteed money. Like, I don't want any of that. So for me, just keep doing what you're doing, and then for gosh sakes, please don't overpay Brock Purdy. Like, it's not about the AAV, but it's more about how it's structured. Give yourself an out after a couple years. Make sure it's inexpensive for the first 2 years, and do not structure this thing the wrong way. Those would be my expectations for the offseason, but we'll see how it goes.
I think a quick question that's a little outside of this is, do you think Genty is a real possibility of the Niners at 12? Or do you think with his philosophy and Shanahan and backs, there's just no way?
I don't. He seems like a Dallas Cowboy to me. Doesn't he have Cowboy written all over him? I feel like.
I would think.
Sleep on the Bears. Don't sleep
on
the Bears.
I think there's a couple teams there that I think could do, but I think it's an interesting one with him to the Niners because Shanahan's done such a good job of really finding more outside of McCaffrey, of finding more of those, day 3 kind of backs that he makes work. But then McCaffrey's got the injury. You're losing Mason to free agency this offseason. You're left with the Garendo back there. And if they don't have as much confidence that McCaffrey's going to be able to come back, full tilt off that injury, which he had kind of went through it last year, that maybe that becomes a little bit more of a draw. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing because he's never really been Shanahan or his father in this position to have a back this good, this high, where they're going to be sitting in the draft to be taken that high. So they've really not been presented with this situation very often.
I don't know. I feel like Cam Scatterboo is more Kyle Shanahan's speed. Don't you feel like
that? There's 7 backs in this draft that are Shanahan backs. I'm telling you, even Judkins to me.
No, I think Judkins. Yeah, for sure.
He wants the robots that are just going to put their head down and go, and he's definitely that.
Is there real interest with Scatterboo, Jesse? Is you guys?
All I know is that he trains in the off season with Christian McCaffrey. I don't know. We have a joke in Ninerland. It's called the Cabo Click, and it's like all the white players basically. So Cam Scatterboo's like right up that alley. He just fits right in. So I don't know. It feels like the right pick. Dave says fire Lyle, fire Brock. I said fire sale at trade DL. I don't know.
Deadline.
Oh, deadline. Okay. Oh, he said it. I got you. Edwin says, if each of you got to pick one team from our division to switch to another division, whether it be AFC or NFC, which team would you pick and where would you send them and what team would you bring in? Oh, that's a good question.
I wouldn't do it because then I wouldn't be able to do this show with you guys.
Yeah, that's true. Well, just alternative universe where there's a universe where Jake's done this or where the team
fine.
Yeah, we have to. We have to do it. This show doesn't exist. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But so so
this is easy for me.
Yeah, I think I got one.
So we're sending them to another division, like each
the crap team I'm going to grab here.
Just say you got to send one team to any division you want and swap them for another team. What team are you sending? Okay. Yeah, you got it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. You get the concept.
Okay, I'm gonna send you away, Jake. Sorry, I'm gonna send the LA Rams on over to is it the AFC? Is it where the Raiders play? Bring the Raiders over here.
No, come on. We have the Chiefs division.
I want less competition.
With Harbaugh and all that now. Mike might have taken mine, man. That might be the one that I'd go with, Jake. I'm sorry, but that's the one with. So you don't want to go to the East Coast team because we got to travel. You know? And then we got to do this like going across. If I take the Jaguars, I got to go all the way out to the East Coast now twice. Once a year.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you could just. Oh, yeah. That is the double side of it. Because on one hand, you'd be like, now you play. Now the 49ers have to play, against the Giants and the Cowboys. But then if I do that, I also have to play against one of those teams. But you know what? Man, I'll do this. I'll put the 49ers in the AFC North. and I'll take the Browns.
I almost did the same thing. I almost sent somebody to the NFC North. That's funny. That's really good. You want a dysfunctional franchise. You really do.
Yeah.
Browns are a good one. Browns
Gosh.
better than the Raiders.
That's true.
That's better. That one's got more wings than the Raiders.
I'll gladly, move over to Cleveland, once a year. I don't care. I mean, you
I'll
get to
take
play
that
that team.
Gosh, who's a really dysfunctional franchise that just can't ever get it together no matter what? The Browns are definitely one of them.
You're up there.
Raiders have been that, but I feel like the Raiders are going to start getting stability with Tom Brady around.
Right.
I don't want to be on the upswing of
Bears.
that. But I feel like they got it together. You know what? I'm going to get rid of Seattle just because I hate the Seahawks. My hate's like not even reasonable. It makes no sense anymore. The reason I hate the Seahawks is because when they initially came over to the NFC West, the Seahawks games back then. So for those of you that are young, have no idea what I'm talking about. Those of you my age will know. You had Fox and you had CBS, and those were the games. That's what you got to watch. Well, back then, or it was ABC or whatever. Back then, Seattle, when they were in the AFC, they were on like Channel 6. 49er games were always on Fox, so I always got to watch the 49ers. The moment the Seahawks came over to the NFC West, that was out the door. They came to Fox, and I never got to watch the Niner game, so I hate the Seahawks for it. I'll never let them live it down. And I'll just send you to the NFC East, and I'll take the Giants, man. The Giants are super dysfunctional.
Ooh. Oh, we already got to travel more than any team.
A lot of travel.
That's so dirty, Jesse. So dirty.
Damn.
I'm taking mine back. I'm putting the Niners in.
I'm putting the Niners in Germany.
I'm going to Miami.
I'm swapping it with Real Madrid.
Yeah. That was a good question.
I love
Ruiz
that.
says Jake's weekly meal consists of the rest of the West. All right, calm down. You win.
Right.
You win the division one time, and you get all huffy puffy. All right.
One time?
All right, Jake. I have the power to mute you. You know that. As I said, if Purdy does play hardball with the Niners, how much do you think that changes the public perception, particularly Niner fans, of him? I will say, I always said Niner fans will choose Kyle Shanahan forever until Brock Purdy came along. I feel like the allegiance then went with Brock Purdy. I think Niner fans would be upset. As far as the perception, though, I mean, the Niners take care and traditionally have taken care of pretty much all of their players. When BA wanted more money, they allowed him to shop his contract. When Debo asked for a trade, they obliged him. When Eric Armstead wanted to be released, they released him. They've made every player across the board the highest paid at their position at one time or another. Like, they take care of their players. So if all of a sudden they don't take care of Brock Purdy in the public perception, that's one player. I think they've built up enough good grace around the league to where they would be okay with it.
I mean, even the most ardent Brock Purdyites have to walk back and say, look, he's got the injuries. He's got last year with the sore arm, like that. And we're going to pay 52. He's going to want 53 million because it's easy enough for the Niners just to leak that. Well, we offered 4. He's asking for 53. So now you can understand what we're going to make him play on his final year of his deal as we bring in Aaron Rodgers. That's to me where I think you can kind of sell that to the fan base. Maybe not everybody stands up to it, but it also makes a lot of sense to the owners. Like, yeah, 53 million and I like him, but not at 53. Maybe not.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, man. Some people I think are Purdy fans more than 49er fans. All day, every day, Kim.
Rams.
Dude, I'm telling you. All day, every day, Kim said, like, the love for mediocrity is crazy. It makes me wonder what you settle for in your real lives. All day, every day, Kim says Brock versus Jaden. Who y'all started with the team? Jaden Daniels. This is easy.
Yeah, Jaden.
Oh my God, yeah.
Jaden Daniels, yeah.
All day.
Jaden Daniels with an arm sawed off.
Damn.
Jaden Daniels missing legs, 2 fingers and four of his toes.
I still get those legs. No, I don't.
Jaden Daniels, if he has to play left-handed. Jeffrey says, I hope the NFC West plunders the Jets roster. They got some great players over there. being tragically wasted. By the way, Brock is worth $60 million. I bet he is. I bet he is, Jeffrey. I bet he is. Yeah, I think that roster is going to get punted a little bit. James says, I'd send the lame Seahawks to Europe. I appreciate it, James, coming in strong. I love it. Dave says, Jesse, does Lyle? Oh my gosh, geez, how did I let that one slip through the cracks? Great one says, I gotta come on this channel because the little pillow biting Pretty Mike crew put me in timeout. Moderator abuse just goes to show how sensitive they are. Who on my channel put him in timeout over Purdy comments?
Pretty Mike.
That is not like. Here's the deal. If people disagree, then let them disagree. Like, don't time out people unless they are either spamming.
I can't stand when my moderators do that.
Yeah. Or they're like being abusive towards other people in the chat.
Exactly.
But if they have a difference of opinion, like, I don't care. Like, let them say whatever they want.
No, I get that. I mean, literally the entire point of the moderator, it's not just, oh yeah, like I'm being nice. Like I am being nice, giving you a moderator, but I need you. You're signing up for a job, my guy. Like I need you to make sure I don't get all stupid shit in my comment section. I don't want to see like porn and shit like that. That is the entire role of the moderator, not like, oh, see, he said that the Rams should go and trade for Derek Carr. He should be banned. Like it doesn't work that way, man. Like,
agreed.
Oh, so much of that, man. I'm so tired of that.
Yeah, I appreciate my mods, I really do, but that can't.
I
mean, even people that come in and talk trash about me, like, who cares? Like, let them through. Let them. As long as they're not like spamming or cussing every other word or being like super personal. Just let it happen, dude. It's sports talk. Like we got to be.
Yeah,
we can't be
the spam too. I forgot to mention. It doesn't always have to be like crazy. I mean, but yeah.
That's what you're gonna free open discussion. You're gonna get that. You got to allow it. If you're gonna have free open discussion, you can't get one without the other.
Like this isn't a Twitch comment section, and we're not like one of those crazy streamers where the comments are like phew, 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 the whole time. Like, okay, that I understand spamming a little bit more to try to even show that you're supporting, but like it's us.
Let it go. It's fine. It'll be okay.
It's all good. Like,
all right. Before we get to our mystery topic that I came up with on the fly, mystery to the rest of the people, not necessarily you guys, but the mystery topic, I want one free agent. And one team that free agent is paired with that just scares the heck out of you. Like if this free agent ends up on this team in the NFC West, I'm going to lose my mind. Who is that player and what is that team for you? Mike, I see you're thinking. I was going to go to you, but it seems like you may not be ready for this. Does anybody have any ideas? I've got. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Kind of cheating, not a free agent, but Myles Garrett to the Cardinals, I think just makes them an absolute contender. I hate that too. Oh I think if they got Myles Garrett, that to me, that's the missing piece. I'm not trying to get Cardinals fans' hopes up, but I have a lot of respect for what they're building. And if they went out and got Myles Garrett, a lot of those games that they lost really close, they don't lose. Because he gets that closer role that I keep talking about. He gets that big time strip sack late in the game. And he probably would have done that. Let's just say half of those games that you lost that were close, he does that in half of those. Like, I think that's what you're getting out of Garrett. And so I think him going there would also want, and keep in mind, the Cardinals have a lot of money, would also get other people to want to go there. And that's how you start to kind of create something that could be really scary. Plus, you get, year two, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray, still in the same system, like all sorts of things like that. And the offensive line is looking a lot better than years past. Myles Garrett, to me, is the missing piece. So if they got him, I'm not saying they win a Super Bowl, but they would be a huge problem with Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I agree with that one. That would be terrifying. Jeez.
Again, I know I cheated. Not
I'll
a
go
free
with
agent, but
no, that's a good one though, because there's a
one.
lot of smoke to that. Because
There's a lot of buzz around him.
Yeah, and Cardinals got the money to pay him because that's the part that people got to take with that. You trade him, you're going to pay him, and that does remove some of those teams that might be as much in on that. I think the two for me would be Devontae Adams going to your Rams because you're going to let go of Kupp. And I think that's going to potentially weaken down your receiving core. Now you're trying to look to the draft to augment that for a team that's going to be trying to kind of go for it. Which are you going to get high level play off of a rookie? Sometimes you can with these young receivers coming out. It's possible sometimes it takes them a little bit of time. And if you get a Devontae Adams, I still think that he's got enough there, especially pairing him with Stafford with those two, that would be a good connection, that those guys would be able to make that work, and that'd keep your core in a good spot with Puka there as well. That would be the one guy there. The other guy would be the guy I talked about a second ago, would be Dahlman. If your Niners worrying on the thing I've been thinking a little bit, maybe them doing here, Jesse, probably nothing to this, just wondering, maybe they dial back down that thing you were asking for last year and I was asking for last year, which is to get back into the offensive line. And instead of we put all these resources into our receivers, from the money spent on Debo, this money spent on Brandon Ayuk, a first-round pick to Ricky Parasol, signing Juwan Jennings to a contract extension. Let's get this back down to our offensive line a little bit. And as a centerpiece of this, Dahlman gets signed, and then you add on top of that in the draft with a couple of high-level offensive linemen early on in the draft to reinforce it a little bit. That would be kind of scary to me if your team got back to their identity point a little bit on that. I feel like you guys have, and I've been consistent on this, have extended a little bit outside of that, going so wide receiver heavy recently and kind of leaving your identity of the trenches.
I didn't even think Dahlman was like a thing to Seahawks fans. I know that he's like super popular to us. That one would suck for sure. I think Devontae Adams would suck. Obviously Myles Garrett would suck as well. But I'm going to go with a player that we all love as 49er fans. And it sounds like there's a good chance he's not going to be back. And there are multiple teams in the division that could use a linebacker. And I will say if Dre Greenlaw on the Chiefs goes to the Rams or something, I will lose my mind. Absolutely lose my mind. Or if he goes to the Cardinals, I don't think he'll end up in Seattle. You guys got your guy, it sounds like. But if he goes to one of those two teams and we got to face him twice a year, no thanks to that. I don't want to see him flourish on a team within the division. That would make me absolutely sick to my stomach. So I will go Dre Greenlaw going to either the Rams or the Cardinals. I would hate that.
I don't want Sherwood to go to the 49ers because I want Sherwood.
Oh, okay, there you go. There you go.
It's like,
how would you feel about Dre Greenlaw on like a 3-year, $27 million deal or something?
I'd be so pissed. I do not want him at all. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
They don't pay linebackers there, Jesse. It's like it's in their soul or something.
Yeah, they don't pay linebackers, but also like if I'm gonna pay a linebacker, I don't want to pay a guy that has an Achilles hair on his resume. Like that freaks the hell out of me. I would, you know what I would rather do? People are gonna be like, you are out of your damn mind. I would bring back Bobby Wagner. I would bring back Bobby Wagner before I paid Dre Greenlaw. That is where I'm at. Bobby Wagner, despite his age, is worth paying for a year more than Dre Greenlaw is worth paying for 3 years with that Achilles tear. And that's saying a lot because he's also still somewhat young. So I'm out on him. Nick Bolton's interesting. I still think Jamie Sherwood is the prize in this, free agency at linebacker, but I'm not going to lie. I would take Bobby Wagner. I would actually, not even if the Rams could get Bobby Wagner back, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I'd put him next to Omar Spates. So, but anyway, that wasn't the point. The point was Sherwood, hands off 49ers. No. And then Tutu Atwell, I don't want to see him go to the Seahawks. That would piss me off so much. If they drafted Eskridge, the pick before Atwell, and then the Rams took Atwell, and then everybody had this speculation where it's like, oh, the Rams want Eskridge, but then the Seahawks picked him, and they're just like, we'll just get Tutu Atwell because he's the next closest thing. Atwell is a good receiver, and for whatever reason, the Rams don't understand how to use him because I don't have to tell you, Jesse, he had 90+ yards against the 49ers, a big reason why they won that game in week 3. Well, he's also had some good games against the Seahawks. And I feel like in that offense, you put Atwell, you move on from Lockett, you get Atwell in there with Metcalf, with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean,
He would be a good Lockett replacement. I'm not going to lie. That's
I'm
actually
telling
really
you.
interesting. And
I'm
he's not gonna
telling you,
cost a lot.
Atwell is 25 years old. He'll be 26. So he's one of the younger wide receivers in this free agency class. There's still kind of some essence of that Sean McVay offense in Seattle because they did have what's his face there. So that's still in their building. Like they have those similar, like the similar ideology and all that. Because obviously what's his face was there, the GM. But my point here is that he's going to complement Metcalf and JSN so well. And if they continue to use him, this guy's 5'9" and $160, but he plays so much taller. He can go up in high point footballs. So you already have the 4.3 speed. He can go up and high point the football. Now you don't have to, necessarily spend a pick in the first round. I'm not saying Atwell's a first round talent, but what I am saying is that you get Atwell, you have that speed threat with the speed threat of DK and what JSN can do. And it's a really diversified wide receiver room. And I mean, I don't want that to happen, but I think it's a good fit for Atwell. And I think it's a good fit for Geno too, who, I mean, he gets a lot of flack, but he can throw the deep ball. And guess who can go and run under it?
Cut an arm.
Atwell.
Yeah.
So keep in mind.
That's actually a really good point.
Wasn't that long ago, Geno Smith was, it was a while ago. Geno Smith was throwing to Tavon Austin. And a lot of people compare Tutu Atwell to Tavon Austin in terms of the speed. I disagree. I think they're different players. He doesn't have the same start and stop ability of Austin, but he's also a way better receiver than Austin. So I don't know. I think that could be a real fit. I also wouldn't want him in Arizona either because he could be their Marquise Brown replacement. I've always said high-end Tutu Atwell is Marquise Brown 2.0.
I think I'd say there's probably more of a chance going to Cardinals, much more than to Seattle on that. I don't think we're going to because it sounds like we're going to restructure to Lockett rather than fully release him. And then you probably just get a development receiver back there behind. So whereas the Cards, I could see them, this is a guy they don't have in their offense right now with what you have. You got your slot, you got your big number two. One guy to take the top, but plus you get the money to spend. We kind of are going to be a little restricted money-wise.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on what Brandon said, I would say Devontae Adams to the Rams too. I would hate to see that.
Yeah.
And one more, Khalil Mack to the Niners, paired up with Bosa.
That would just annoy me. I wouldn't even be like, I would just be like, really? Like, what the hell, man?
Khalil Mack to the Niners would annoy me too. Let's just get a 36-year-old. That makes a lot of sense. Daz says, do you see any NFC West team making a big move in free agency? I think the Cardinals and the Rams are the two teams to look out for. Yep. I think the 49ers seem to be heading in a direction where they're going to focus more in on the draft and maybe some more inexpensive players. Unless you think Dahlman's a big player or a big name, then I guess throw us in Seattle back into the conversation. But I think the Rams and the Cardinals are the teams to look out for here. So, yeah, I think one of them will for sure.
Dahlman's going to crash 1 million a year.
Oh, my God.
Maybe not. Bronze Sausage says, if the Hawks draft a QB this draft, who do you think fits? Guarantee Purdy. Go Hawks.
Give him an $80 million fully guaranteed.
That's awesome. I don't know if there is a pure fit necessarily. There's a few different guys that are in alignment to it. That there's all these guys are kind of the glut of this draft, quarterback wise, is 3rd and 4th round, in my opinion, where people should be going. Jackson Dart's getting talk of going up into the 1st round. He's really, to me, a 3rd round talent. It's like Howard, 3rd round talent. All these guys pretty much to 4th round, from the Dylan Gabriels to Quinn Ewers to Jalen Milrose. And they all got their pluses and minuses they bring. So there's not one that really elevates themselves or another. Supposedly Schneider has had a chubby for Quinn Ewers for a couple of years now. Something about it makes him go 6 to midnight. I don't know what it is, but certainly not the tape.
Oh man, I hope that gets clips because that is just
so good. That was so good.
You're so good at like just doing you're just so good at being Brandon. I can't explain it, but the dialogue was like movie worthy. Like it was just like you're like first take would kill for that. Like the way you just rattled that off all in one. It was like, Oh my God, man. He's totally dunked all over this dude.
I'll tell you a player that the Seahawks actually would like a quarterback now that they've got that Shanahan system coming in. Kyle McCord. Talk about third, fourth, fifth round quarterbacks, man. He's got Kirk Cousins written all over him, brother.
Shadur Sanders might be there when they pick in the first round.
And he would be a good fit too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dave says, I'll take Myles Garrett at quarterback over Brick.
I just love that you guys call him Brick.
I don't call him Brick. It's literally just a Dave thing. Feed me more Seahawks says Jesse belongs in the retirement home. I've missed you, Feed me more. I have missed you in the roundtable. Mike looks like Danny. Jeffrey says the Hawks get Joe Burrow. Does that scare anyone? Yeah, it would scare the hell out of me. Are you kidding me? There was a moment, I think I actually put it out on my channel that I thought, don't be shocked if Joe Burrow like asks for a trade. And, if it was like down to the Rams and I could just see it. It was down to the Rams or the 49ers. They're all in on him. And then he goes to the Rams. I would just,
that would be nuts.
I would hate life. Absolutely hate life. Dave,
I feel like the Bengals should consider it, man, because they could get such a return on this. I mean, it's a hard move to make, but they don't want to spend
fat enough for that, man.
You're not signed up for what?
What?
What'd you say?
Oh, I was answering the super chat.
Jake,
I was like, I'm not fat enough for that.
That's awesome. Dave says, need Christopher Walken guest star on my page. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm surprised you didn't ask him to answer a specific question. Maybe he can answer this next one. All right, let's do this. Let's end on this one. We all have some sort of debate or divide, a topic that divides our fan base. And I want you guys or us to be the tiebreaker for you guys in whatever that is that divides your fan base. So I'll give you an example. The Brock Purdy conversation, fan base is certainly divided. Should they sign him? Should they not? Now that's low hanging fruit. We've already got your opinion on that. So I will change it. And then you guys can take some time to think of your own. But one topic of conversation is the Super Bowl is at Levi Stadium. And the 49ers have a really easy schedule this year. So a lot of 49er fans are looking at it saying, what are we doing? This should be an all-in year. I'm looking at it, and a lot of other 49er fans are looking at it saying, this is the right move. Take all the dead cap money hits that you can take this year and be ready to go next year. So I will ask you, what do you think the right approach is? If you have to do one or the other, go all in, try to make a Super Bowl at Levi, take advantage of that easy schedule, or should you look to kind of do a retool / rebuild, however you want to word that? What would you do if those are the options? Mike, I'll start with you on that one.
That's such a tough one because you still got those players, which, like I said, you guys were just riddled with a lot of injuries, and it almost kind of feels like the Brock Purdy thing is going to get paid. Like, it's going to happen. It almost kind of feels like there's no way of like denying it. So it's hard to go through a rebuild when you're paying a QB that amount of money and allocating that amount of money. So I don't know. That's a tough one, and I understand why you guys are debating about this. I think what you said, it makes sense to start the rebuild, but like they should have done that before these other moves or not doing that. So I don't know. Like, I feel like you got to try it one more time. And just being, anti San Francisco 49ers. I'd love to see you guys go all in and pay Brock Purdy. I say all in. Try it one more time. I understand that's a smart play. If it was the Cardinals, I would be talking rebuild, but for the sake of me sitting on the outside looking in, I would say go all in.
Perfect. Brandon, what about you? What do you think the Niners should do?
Yeah, Niners should be hitting the switch on the pause button, in my opinion, to this. Not that they can compete, not that there isn't a possibility of them being a contender next year. It's just that it does feel like the window has closed down much further, and that your pathway to getting through it is much leaner and thinner. And that there's a couple of things that also inform this. On top, Brandon Ayuk coming off that knee injury, probably going to move him. And I think it's a good move on their part. He's probably not going to be the same player coming off that injury. And then if you can save money and get ahead of that, that's what smart organizations do. Sounds like you're going to do the same thing with Hargrave, but then Purdy's the big part of this because it's not just about going forth this year. it's probably going forward, and then you're signing Purdy to go forward at the same time, which means multiple years down the line. To me, that's the bit of the pivot point there that where I'd go, nope, I'd pull this back in. I'd force Purdy kind of on that final year if I could, and go, look, what are you going to do about it? You're not going to hold in, and then ride it out into next year and see what happens. And I would feel, if I'm a Niner fan, that's the better point. You guys made a good run at this. You were saying earlier that there was a feeling like they hadn't gone all in, or that he had said, Shanahan said you guys hadn't gone all in. I kind of feel like you guys had. When you look at the contract structure, when you look at the voidable years that are buried down the line, how do you not say that they haven't gone for it? With the McCaffrey trade with second, third, fourth round pick, how do you not say they didn't go all in? They've paid all these people. How do you say they didn't go in? You took your swing, and that's all right that you came close and just barely missed, but you don't just keep kind of now trying to muster and force it through, in my opinion, when it does have the looks of being like, take a step back, ease it up.
Jake, what do you think?
I think it's wild. I'm looking at your cap table right now, and there's void years until 2031.
It's awful.
It's
a nightmare.
I've never even seen that. Like, I know the Rams were like one of the first teams, it seemed like, to start doing the void year thing.
The Eagles might look like that, maybe potentially. They do the void.
I'm going to check for you. But yeah, the Rams, their cap table only goes into 2027 because they don't have anything else after that.
Damn.
And then the Eagles, let's check this out.
I know they have a lot in 2029.
Yeah. Eagles
oh my God, 2035.
Wow. The Hurts contract has completely been fee-barred. Yeah. They're crazy too.
Well, anyway, I think, there's a team in their division, in the Rams. They could follow that blueprint. I mean, you saw the Rams, and by the way, the 49ers have drafted well, so it's not like they can't do it either. The Rams rebuild on the fly. They had that 5-12 season, and keep in mind, do you know how brutal that was for the Rams to have the 5-12 season, have a top 6 pick, and have it go to the Lions? I mean, just think about that. So I don't think people talk about that enough. They rebuilt on the fly, having to hit on those day 3 picks. They didn't get a first round pick in that realm. That was going to Stafford. So what they did was the 2023 and 2024 seasons, they hit the draft out of the park. I mean, they found a starting guard, probably will be a Pro Bowler someday, and Steve Ovulett in the second round. They found Byron Young. They found Jared Verse. The one first round pick that they make since Jared Goff is Jared Verse at pick 19. He ends up being by far the best defensive player of all the rookies in that draft. And then you have, Braden Fisk, and, they found so many of these guys like a Kobe Turner, what have you. And it's really given them the flexibility to kind of do whatever they want this year. But keep in mind, folks, they were 5-12 in 2022. And a lot of people kind of already had counted them out going into 2023. And then people after Aaron Donald retired pretty much counted them out going into 2024. So you look at the 49ers, and while it doesn't look the most ideal, and I honestly, aside from the Eagles, I had never seen a cap table like the 49ers. But with that said, I mean, I'm just being nitpicky here. A lot of these, void years going into 2031, for instance, are going to be about $2 million to $3 million on the cap. So it's not like they're $10 million and they've just been so, I don't really think they've done the most responsible job, but they absolutely already have gone all in. I mean, no one can say that they haven't at this point. I think really what it comes down to is last year was your all-in year. You had injuries, that sucks. But if you're going to try and be like, well, we had injuries, and then you go into 2026, and you go all in, guess what? You're probably going to have injuries again. Maybe not on the level of last year, but you're going to find out pretty quickly, we've just, it's past us. We have to kind of move on. And so I think right now, looking at all this cap that you're eating, I mean, they're eating almost $66 million in dead money in 2025. That's a lot. And
it's going to be high. It's going to be higher when Hargrave. Yeah. That's not even including Hargrave off the books.
Wow. Not including Hargrave. Not including an Ayuk trade. I don't know if you're a pre-June 1st trade team or a post-June 1st trade where you like to stretch it out.
Well, they gotta do it pre-June 1st on at least on Ayuk if they want to lower the money. So it's weird how they structured.
The weird thing though, and it's very weird because I never see when I'm looking at the Rams cap table, for instance, I never see the parentheses in red, which is literally a penalty. So it's. You never see that anymore. And the 49ers have it with everybody. I've never, this is so I haven't seen this in years. And yet the 49ers, it's like every time I look at their cap situation, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, just think about this. The Javon Hargrave thing, if they trade him pre-June 1st, it's 15.2 million negative cap savings. And then if they trade Brandon Ayuk, this is absolutely atrocious. 28.5 million negative cap savings. I don't know how they're going to stay above the cap if they trade some of these guys. That's my thing. And then you have to pay Brock Purdy. Like, they're going to have to pile on more void years to even make this happen. So that's my thing is, like, even if they want to go all in, how are they going all in? How is that going to happen? There's nothing they could do to go all in. This stuff is ironclad. I mean, you can't really get out of these without taking some severe damage. I mean, say if you're like, you know what? We're going to trade Trent Williams. 33.9 million negative cap savings. You can't trade like any of these guys. What they would have to end up doing is trade them post June 1st. It's the only way that they don't eat that. But then that kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because you're not just eating it all in 2025, you're pushing it on to 2026's plate. So I just don't think, like, when people say, you know, all this, oh, well, we should go all in. You can't go all in. It's not a thing. So now it's up to the 49ers. Step up, draft well, you know, trade some of these guys and field a team that, and it's possible, field a cost-effective roster with good coaching. You got Saleh back. I think that's going to help the defense. Good coaching, easiest schedule in the NFC West, and you got a shot. But I mean,
Denver Broncos is kind of what I'm looking at, right? Where they had all that dead cap space and Russell Wilson, but they drafted so well for a couple years, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they hit. Now they don't make it far in the playoffs, but they made the playoffs. A little bit of an easier schedule, but all their young studs performed. And the 49ers, if they hit in this draft, the guys last year, if they play well this year, if those young guys play well, they can make some noise with that schedule. So I'm glad that for the most part, you guys agree.
You know what this tells me, though? They need to trade Brock Purdy. They need to.
They won't, though.
I know they won't, but they need to. They can't pay him all that money. I think
what they do is they just go to him and they say, we don't have any money to pay you. Like, they release these people off. They go, look, we're going to force you to pay on it. We don't have any money left. Even if you hold out, you can't do it. We're not voiding. Well, then he holds out that they go already. They've already made the decision to sort of not. Well, you get a core. That's where you do like a Rodgers thing where you
would you take a quarterback at, what is it, 12?
No.
I would.
No. Not with the good player they're going to have sitting there facing them at 12. There's going to be legit, like, there's going to be a difference maker there at 12. Therefore,
I wouldn't do it either. I mean, but I was curious. The only first round quarterback, at least the way I have it, is going to grade out is Cam Ward. I don't think the rest are even close to his level. And I'm not even saying he's an elite prospect, but
second round grades my earliest. So
he's clearly the only one that I would pick in the first round is Cam Ward. But I've liked him for a while, even at Washington State. But yeah, I look at the 49ers cap table right now, $33.7 million in cap space. Effective, that'll be, you have a first round pick, so 29 million, effective cap space, we'll say 25, 29, 28.
And then you're going to take 7 million for Hargrave post June 1st. So you do have $22 million for.
So they're going to have $22 million, and then they have to give Brock Purdy his deal. I guess they'll restructure Kittle and Warner. I mean, there's ways. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Take it on the chin for 1 year. That's all I'm saying. All right, Mike.
Yeah.
What argument can we settle for you guys?
So I don't want to just have it Kyler Murray, but I think this year is going to be very pivotal on Kyler Murray. It's got to be playoffs or bust. That's the biggest thing going into this year for the Cardinals organization. And of course, everybody looks at the quarterback and saying, you got to deliver for the Arizona Cardinals. So I guess the debate is right now is if the Cardinals do not win a playoff game or even make it to the freaking playoffs, do the Cardinals move off of Kyler Murray? That's the debate.
Oh, Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the Cardinals, honestly, with where Kyler is at right now and where the quarterback market is, they could take advantage of maybe finding a tasty market out there to get a little bit back for Kyler right now. Because I think you're going to come to find a year from now that you guys are going to be out on him, and not necessarily because he's a bad player, but that he just doesn't quite have enough, or that the limitations that do exist in him as a player not enough to allow you guys to get over the top, and you realize that by that point. So it's get a year out ahead of something or get out a year late. And I would take that direction if I was the Cardinals going in this offseason, because I think these quarterbacks in this draft, though I do have them in the 3rd and the 4th round, if you wanted to have a Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson-like draft, and I don't think that we've had one of those really come through in about the last 10 years. Right. What I mean by that being that those quarterbacks that are in the 3rd and the 4th round actually have some talent. They're not just wayward guys that are kind of all, also ran, tryhards, overachievers, but they actually have some legitimate talent. He mentioned Kyle McCord or this Tyler Shock kid that's coming out of Louisville that's, a little bit older, but pro ready. He's going to hit the ground running. These are guys that you could fit in there, I think, and in my opinion, with the offense that you guys run and run heavy as it is, I don't think that there's as much of the necessity of having the superhero-ish quarterback you're hoping you're going to get in Kyler and what he brings on that side of it. And especially if you build up the offensive line in that way and get another competent wide receiver on the outside. So I know it's playoff or bust, and that'd be a hard pill to swallow for the Cardinal fans that are wanting that then. But at the same point in time, I don't think you're taking that big hit by moving off, because I just don't know that Kyler's really giving you cumulatively all that much as a separating factor there.
Jake, what do you think?
Man, if it's tough, because I do like Kyler, and I've talked to players in the league that are really high on Kyler, and they think that he's got this ability that is special. Yep. And it's weird because, from Mike's perspective, I get it, because you're basically saying if they don't make the playoffs, we got to have a conversation. And I think that's definitely fair. And I think kind of looking at his deal, you're going to eat probably a decent chunk, but next year, you could trade him away and save $35 million in cap, pre-June 1st. This isn't anybody that wants Kyler gone this year needs to understand how things work, because that's not possible. But 2026, you could look at potentially trading him. If I'll say this, if the Cardinals don't make the playoffs, I'd probably sign off on trading Kyler Murray away. I would, but I think it's playoffs or bust. I think if they do make the playoffs, I wouldn't be so quick to just be like, oh, they made the playoffs, but they didn't win a playoff game. Get rid of Kyler Murray. I wouldn't say that, because I also want to see how he grows alongside Marvin Harrison Jr., right? And Trey McBride, who's only getting better. But that's kind of the thing, though. I think for a little bit there, you have some comfortability, some breathing room if you're Kyler, but this feels like the end of the road. There's a fork here, right? You're either going to this side, which is the playoffs and, maintaining your time as the Cardinals quarterback, or you're going this way and it's going to be a divorce. But I don't see any other way at that point. I think you are hitting that fork in the road when you say playoffs or bust. And, maybe you want, a playoff win or a playoff, 2 playoff wins. That's great and all. But to me, if they don't get to the playoffs with Kyler, I definitely, I would agree. I would actually, I would sign off on that.
Okay. Jesse, what's that?
It is tough, because it all comes down to do I think the team is even playoff worthy? And we'll know after the offseason. I thought they were, a 6-win team last year is what I predicted. They obviously won more than that. They exceeded expectations. But if I come into it and think hey, this is a 9-8 team and they're still not a playoff team, and then they end up 9-8, maybe not. But it also comes down to how does he play? That's the thing with Kyler. It's he had a major blunder in the playoffs, and he's done this thing where he starts out hot, not just the team, but he starts out hot and then he kind of nosedives. If he continues to do that, it's well, at some point you're just not the guy. I think that he meets all the standards other than height, I guess, as far as what you would want, though. Physically, there's not a throw he can't make. He's one of the most dynamic runners in the league. He brings so much to the table, but something seems to be missing from the mental side or something. So I'm not like sold on Kyler, but this is it does feel like a make or break year. And if the money matches up and they're not going anywhere anyways, and you can get something for them, I think maybe it would probably be time to move on. But I would like to see how the season plays out before I fully say yay or nay on Kyler Murray. But it does seem like it's trending in that direction. It does.
Fair.
Brandon, what's a tiebreaker we can break for your fan base?
Eugene Tiberius Smith. So, where it stands right now, of course, is that he's the next step for the contract. There's a little bit of not certainty about what you're looking at actually spending for him. Last time the Hawks were able to really sign him on a very team-friendly contract on that extension. And he's probably going to want a little bit more money. But do you want to sign this quarterback at his age? Is the team in the right place to be signing this guy? I think that you look at a team like the Rams and signing Stafford to the deal he's signing makes a lot of sense. Rams have been to the playoffs the past 2 years. Rams have been able to make some noise. Rams came very close to the Eagles. You can look at yourself and say, hey, we should be in a position to go for it here. My Seahawks team has not been in the playoffs the past couple of years. The previous year than that we got in the playoffs, your 49ers spanked us. So we are kind of sitting there going, okay, we're spending this extension now for a team that's not quite doing it. We think they're going to get there, but they haven't gotten there. So do you really want to spend that money? And that's that is the hot argument above all that stand there, and it's been there all season long, and it's going to go throughout the offseason if he signs the extension.
Ooh.
And by the way, my opinion on it, by the way, was not that my whole thing was is that you sign this if you're going to be a contender. And if the team's going to go in an offseason and do what they've done typically, then I wouldn't do it. Now, if they're going to be willing to get aggressive and really go high octane, then my tone might change on this. But it all is a little bit dependent on what their approach is going to be on that for my answer with Gino.
What about Gino to the Raiders and Aaron Rodgers to the Seahawks, huh?
Rodgers.
We throwing the Rodgers thing into every team.
I'm with it. Hey, I'm completely with it again because I'm not a fan of spending this amount of money on quarterbacks unless you're getting the returns. Your team's in the position to take advantage. And if you're not certain about it, or they're a little wavering, or there's a little bit of or you got to be imaginative to get there, then kind of the answer to me is a bit of more of a no. It should be a no-brainer about it. It's like getting married. You got a question in your mind, you probably shouldn't get married. So that's kind of where I at least stand on it.
Jake, what would you do here?
I mean, I'd probably trade Gino if I'm being honest with you. I don't think the timeline even makes sense. I would trade him to the Giants. I mean, you look. I know it's very. I would say it's very chaotic. I think it's a mismanaged thing, but let's just call it like it is. Brian Dable and Joe Shane are just trying to protect their jobs. They want to win. And they know because, the Maras up top are expecting W's. They're like, all right, well, we just paid Brian Burns and we got Kayvon Thibodeau and we got, Dexter Lawrence. And we just added this absolute lightning in a bottle in Malik Neighbors. Let's go get him an actual quarterback that can get him the ball. And I think Gino can do that. He's been with the Giants before, so it's not anything new. But I just think for Seattle, I don't know what you would get for Gino. I will say his contract is a lot easier to move than some other contracts out there at quarterback. They'd be eating $13.5 million, and then they'd have $31 million in cap savings. Right now, this team is about $16 million effective cap, probably around $12 million in cap. So they're going to probably have to do something like that. I know DK Metcalf has been the rumored. Let me make this very clear. I have no doubt Seattle is going to keep Gino, but I'm saying from my perspective, I would trade him. And I would trade him to the Giants because I know the Giants, they were desperate after Stafford. They're desperate after Rodgers. What if Rodgers retires? Or if Rodgers goes to the Raiders? This team, Joe Shane and Brian Dable do not care how loud they're making it, that they're clearly just trying to keep their jobs. I mean, I don't recommend. I think the Giants should just go all in on Cam Ward, personally. And I think that they should not go after a veteran quarterback. But I believe they're going to, and I'm sure they'll call about Geno Smith because I think the fit is there. It's just, I don't think the Seahawks are going to trade him. I think it would make a lot of sense, though. Seahawks trade him. You're probably not getting the third pick, but maybe you try doing some sort of pick swap, maybe even offer Metcalf and you try to build this thing. But that's how I see it, is that I don't think the Giants are ahead of the Seahawks. Let me make that very clear. I don't. But I think the Giants' top guys, they want to be there. They're willing to be desperate enough to make a move like this. And I think Seattle has kind of this new, I don't know, this kind of newfound thing with McDonald. I'm sure McDonald's looking at like, we won 10 games last year. Easily could have been in the playoffs. And if I'm going to get, production out of a coach with, a cost-effective roster, and maybe just this is a roster where you sign Jacoby Brissett or a Jameis Winston and you draft a quarterback, like I honestly think McDonald could squeeze out 10 wins with that. I'm not saying Geno isn't worth that, because I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. But I think if you could, make this thing a little cheaper, get rid of Geno now because he's 35, you go out and you make your roster more cost effective, it sets you up for more sustained success, in my opinion.
Mike, what would you do with Geno?
It's so fascinating. I'm looking at his contract as well, and he has, and I know I've given him a lot of crap, but he's done pretty darn good job in terms of being a really good bridge quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks to keep them relevant, right? I mean, they're always up there when it comes down to towards the end of the season, 2 or 3 freaking games. You're talking about playoffs. You're like, what the hell's going on? You're supposed to be rebuilding. I wouldn't. If I was the Seattle Seahawks, I wouldn't. But like, you got to really treat this the right way, because you got to ask the questions to yourself. Like, would he play in 2025, or is he looking for that extension? Would he sit out? Like, I honestly thought that the plan for the QB for the Seattle Seahawks should have been in place, at least try to find something starting last year. But they didn't do that. I mean, obviously they had Sam Howell as the backup QB, which let's call it, because he had some little flashes here and there, but he's not going to be a franchise quarterback for anybody. A backup quarterback probably at best. But Geno Smith has, deserved some sort of extension how he's playing. Maybe not to the Seattle Seahawks because of the way that this is going for them. It doesn't make sense to extend him. Like, in terms of what you got going on, does not make sense to extend him, at least to me. Trading him is an option, but also, I don't know, try to find a way to make him play his freaking contract and then find a way to, set the future. And I know that's asking a lot, because he's going to want to get paid and what he's accomplished with the Seattle Seahawks. But right now, where we're sitting at in March the 4th, no, I will not extend Geno Smith. But I get it on the player side of it all, with you're also having to deal with potentially him sitting out and not even having a QB. So I personally wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You know where I stand on Geno Smith. But, what's interesting about Geno, and I do want to give him his credit in the sense that I was watching when he went down week 16. I forget what week. He got injured, and he'd missed like the second half of the game, essentially, and then Hal had to come in, and it looked disastrous. The way that his teammates rallied around him and the concern they had was like, they really do love Geno. Yeah. Like, Geno's won that locker room over. And so this is a tough situation that they are in, especially Mike McDonald, who's in year 2, and he's trying to win the locker room over himself. I don't know that he has enough cachet to not extend Geno without losing the locker room. And that's an interesting thing right there. I mean, personally, I look at it, and just for like, if it's Madden, I'm also trading Geno. I'll sign Kirk Cousins cheap for a year. I'll draft a quarterback and develop them, and we'll figure it out. But these are humans, and this is a team that does like Geno Smith. Yeah. By no means do I think Geno Smith is that guy. I personally wouldn't do it. But being a second-year coach who's trying to win over the locker room, I don't know if he can afford to move on from Geno Smith or piss him off without risking losing the locker room, and then all of a sudden he's gone in 2 years because that's the locker room never took on to him. So I don't know, man. That's a really, really tough situation that you guys are in.
It ain't easy, man. It's definitely a bit of a pickle on that, and all really good points on your guys' part. I just think it does come down to where you got to know where your team's at and where it's really prepared to go. And when you're a contender, as I've said on this many times, you're a contender coming into the year. There are some surprises, but most of these teams, we know who the contenders are coming into it. And as I look at my team right now, I'm not certain. They could become it, but I'm not anywhere close to being certain unless there's some really major moves made on top of just signing in-house guys.
Absolutely, Jake. What's a tiebreaker we can break for your fan base?
Man, I think there's a bunch, but let's just do this. Kyren Williams. Okay. You guys have probably seen it on Twitter. Rams fans, Kyren Williams is probably the most polarizing Ram because you either love him or you hate him. And I mean, I love the guy because I think he's incredibly intelligent, good for the offense. May not be like the biggest threat as a pass catcher out of the backfield, but Stafford hasn't exactly been great with those screen passes. But he's such a good pass protector. He's a leader. He is pretty much a guaranteed first down on those short yardage situations. He's got over 30 touchdowns the last 2 years, 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons. But Rams fans are so tired of his fumbles. They've pinned the loss on the loss to the Eagles. They have pinned that entirely on him because he fumbled in that game. And I think that's really, it's not just the fumbles though. It's the lack of explosives, right? He doesn't have that home run hitting speed. And this was, we knew about this. He didn't have the best 40 time at the combine, although he did improve at the pro day, running a 4.54. But I just don't feel like Rams fans quite understand the type of player this is. You're not getting Saquon Barkley, okay? So it's not like you can just get rid of him and get Saquon Barkley. But yeah, I'll tell you right now, Kyren Williams right now is $5.4 million against the cap because of the boost that they have, the final year or whatever. So $5.4 million against the cap, 2-time 1,000-yard rusher. Sean McVay loves him. He understands the offense and all that. And Rams fans want to not only draft somebody in the first round, like a Travian Williams or whatever, or Henderson, not only draft somebody, but they want to get rid of Kyren Williams. And I guess I just don't understand it because, their argument is that anybody can run for over 1,000 yards in this offense, which I'm not saying there aren't others that could, but I think there's so much of a focus on the long speed that people are missing what he brings to the table as a pass protector, as the short yardage guy, as a guy that has a nose for the end zone. Because they hear all the time, well, he's a goal line merchant. It's like, okay, well, you right there who's telling me that, you're the one that told me that Cam Akers was special. And I kept telling you he's not even a goal line merchant because he would fumble at the goal line. That is what I don't like about, the running back dialogue that people have. Goal line merchant isn't a bad thing. Having a nose for the end zone is a skill. Look at how many guys can't finish, when you need to, 1 yard away and they run backwards or whatever. That's a skill. So guys, yes, right now, Rams fans, one half of them is like, Kyren's great. They're trying to extend him like they should. And the other side wants to get rid of him. So I guess what I would ask you is, would you keep Kyren Williams and extend him? Because we're not even going to entertain the idea of getting rid of him. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
But would you keep him and extend him beyond this year? Regardless of if you were drafted a running back or not, you're extending him. Or you are moving on from him, you're drafting a running back, and this is his last year in LA. Where are you on that?
Ooh. Mike, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think I know the fumbles hurt. I really do, but he's a good player, man. And I know that's probably it's coming from a, outside guy, and I don't have the emotional feelings to, feeling a specific type of way with specific games. So that might be what it is. I'm taking that out of it all. But honestly, I think he's proven enough for you to at least give him 2 years, something like that. And if you want to get some sort of game plan, I know you guys got Blake Corum, but it didn't seem like Blake Corum really got a fair shot or really just was kind of injured here and there. But obviously the show is going through Kyren. I think he deserves something. I'm not saying give him a 5-year extension, but something where he's comfortable with and the Rams are comfortable with. I think you give him another shot. There's no way in heck that if I was a Rams fan, I would say get rid of Kyren. He's got double-digit touchdowns, over 1,000 yards for 2 straight. Yeah, you got to do right by the player, and he's good in the system. I think he's a fantastic player. He's not Saquon, obviously. You don't really have many Saquons, though. There's a reason why he got paid the way he did. I say you roll with them, and if you want to get a contingency plan, this is the year to do it in the draft. Try to find somebody that you can, sit behind him, and go from there. But I think Kyron deserves another chance. See what he does in 2025 and maybe get some, something with the contracts where you have some sort of out. But I think he deserves a little bit more.
What do you think, Brandon?
I think that running back position has been an interesting one to track the last couple of years. I've been paying attention to it closely because there's the analytical battle that's going on about, does the offensive line drive it, to Jake's point about it, or is it about the singular talent of the running back that drives it in that production? And we've had a bit of a test run here where we've taken backs in back-to-back drafts in the second round without putting the appropriate offensive line in front of them and seen that that the analytic nerds are right on this one, that it is the offensive line that drives it. My opinion on this is, if you're going to spend money on a running back and you're going to really put this kind of money into them, is that it's got to be somebody that's a difference maker. And if they're not a difference maker, then the analytic guys are right. They're just another guy. As good as they may look, as individualistic and nice as their skill set is, they are just another guy, and you don't pay for that at that point. And in my opinion, that's a little bit of this where you want to try to avoid as a team on this. Yeah, the Saquon Barkley trade is going to sit, or the signing of Saquon is going to sit in a lot of teams' heads, Josh Jacobs, but those are the difference makers, right? Those are the former first-round running backs that were taken that are what I'm talking about. And those are the rare breed, much like the running backs. It's not a dime a dozen. So if you find your guys in that dime a dozen part, don't overextend yourself because you fall in love with just your own guy because you love him. We all can have a tendency, I think, to do that at times. And the one big part that should factor into this above all else is that this upcoming draft class has two positional groups that are as probably good as we've seen in the last at least 10 years and maybe 20 years. And that's the tight end class, and that's the running back class. So this is the perfect year to go in there, then to go find that replacement at the lower cost, especially as you said to this, Jake, as well. It ain't bargain basement prices here. You're giving him like top 17 money at the running back position. Like he's making, even if not an extension, he's still making kind of legit money at that point. You can afford it. It's not going to break your bank. But to me, I'm going to get kind of hard-lined on this to saying, no, I don't think you spend money on running backs. You can draft them high. You can do that type of stuff, but I don't even think that's necessary per se, because they're so deep. There's so many of them coming out every year. But don't save your money. Spend your money elsewhere smartly.
Oh, man. This one's tough because I really respect Kyron Williams. I mean, what's crazy to me is because if you, from the outside looking in, just look at the box score, there's nothing that's going to impress you. But when you watch him play, like week 3 against the 49ers, watching him, I felt like he rushed for 200 yards that game. He was so unstoppable. And then you look up and it's like he averaged 3.8 yards a carry and had 80 something yards. How was that possible? Like, you couldn't stop him. And then he just gets in the end zone all the time, every week. To your point, he's a great pass blocker. I don't know how many times I watch him pick up a free blitzer. He knows exactly what he's doing. Gosh, I don't know. He does fumble a lot. I'm going to lean towards Brandon on this one just because it is a running back heavy draft. But if I could get him on like a 3-year, $24 million extension, I think I would be comfortable with that too. So I don't know that I'm helping the fan base. I'm split too, man. Yeah, that's tough.
No, I get that. I mean, I also will say I made it way more digestible by saying extension or no extension. Because I mean, really what the fan base is arguing is
I'm not getting rid of him right now.
I'm not getting rid of him.
Yeah, I'm not
it's
getting rid
insane.
of him. That's not happening. That's an easy no.
Would you draft? I'll ask you guys this: would you draft a running back in the first 3 rounds this year to get ready to replace Kyron? Or would you do like what I want to do is get a guy like Jaden Blue who adds just an extra, dynamic that they don't have in that running back room, and you don't have to spend a top 3 round pick.
Can't you do both? Is what I mean, you don't have to, I agree with you guys. You don't have to get rid of him necessarily this year. Some of it depends on how much he's going to drive to want a new contract. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, he probably feels like he's due to be paid. That may be something that comes up in this too, right? Jake, you'll have some information on this, I'm sure, but that may be a part of this process to include too, if you can get him to play on that final year of that deal. But this running back class, when I say, I'm not overstating, there's many people that have said it is good in 20 years, and it's not just at the top heavy, it's in the depth, like a guy you mentioned in Jaden Blue that you're going to be able to get him probably like the 5th round. But you can get a guy in the 3rd round that's going to be maybe a sub-high 2nd round talent, a talent equivalent to Kyron Williams at a very cheap cost on a 4-year club control deal of rookie contract at that point, in addition to Corum, in addition to the next guy, and you make it more of the rotation type situation of rolling through there, which if you don't, that's to me, if I don't have the Saquon or the real difference maker guy, then I go to more of the triumphant in how I want to roll it out.
Interesting.
I will say I don't love the performance escalator. I like it for the player, but I feel like it's already like you kind of get screwed if you draft well, because then you don't get a 5th-year option unless they're first-round picks. So once again, screwed. But then also there's no soft cap. So you can't go over the salary cap to pay your own guys. And now we're making it so, yeah, like I'm happy for Kyler and he's getting $5.4 million, but this is also a 5th-round running back that now you're paying $5 million to because of the performance escalators. In a way, it's like the law of unintended consequences is like, on one hand, the player, love it for the player, getting more money, rightfully so. But on the other hand, it's like, well, how much value are you really getting from drafting players and finding them in day 3 anymore? That's kind of like what I'm really starting to see now.
Yeah.
Because you have these teams that are cutting good players just so they can pay some of the guys that they know they're going to have to pay early. Like if you hit the nail on the head on a 6th-round rookie, now you know in year 3 you're going to have to pay him. Not year 4, year 3. And now if you do that with a bunch of guys, in that draft class, you have to pay all of them year 3. Well, you can't pay everybody. So now some of these guys want to get traded. Some of these guys are going to refuse to play. And so, yeah, it has nothing to do with what we were talking about. Like, I guess it does to a degree. But I mean, like Darion Kedrick, nothing against him. 6th-round talent. He started a bunch of games for them. Hasn't been like amazing. He's been like, solid player. 3.4 million cap number. I mean, this is a 6th-round pick that now goes up to 3.4 because he's started games, and that's the performance accelerator. I don't know. I feel bad being that guy, but it's more so I look at the draft.
Like, what's the reward for drafting so well, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just coming from my team drafts well, your team doesn't, and I feel it's unfair. It's any team. And I guess then the argument always comes back from the people that defend the way the NFL does contracts and stuff. They'll come back and say, well, the best teams can adapt from that. And it's like, that's kind of bullshit, because back in the day, that wasn't the case. Nobody left their team. And if you drafted well, the best teams stayed the best teams because they were rewarded for drafting well. And it's like nowadays, you kind of aren't dead in the water if you don't draft well. Because now it's like these guys are becoming free agents after sometimes they're on the market, like Michael Mayer's on the market after 2 years,
Even if they're not free agents, they're like this situation with you where they're going into the final year of a contract and the team's kind of like, we got this with Rick Woolen right now. It's like 5, and it's like him at like 2 is a little bit more than him at 5 feels better to us here. And it does. It gets much tougher and tighter.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. All right, let's round it out with some super chats. Dave says the topic that divides the fan base is hot dog flavor and shape. Nice, Dave. Jeffrey says Christian McCaffrey won't stay healthy for a full year. That's my concern too, but I'll be praying for help. I'm gonna save this one for the end. We'll end it on walking. Jeffrey says Geno is simultaneously a top 10 quarterback and a bottom 10 quarterback a few plays later. This is why it's even a discussion. Huge plays, huge mistakes. Man, he does have some weird moments for sure. Both ways. Nick says, yo, who all interviewed with Scadaboo? There's somebody on Twitter that has a list of every prospect and who they've interviewed with. I don't know who he's interviewed with. Jeffrey says the Niners shot their shot. It's over now. Oh, well. Maybe. Feed Me More Seahawks says exposed B last night. He's a Hawks Nest pimp. My pimp.
Gator girls got to wear rubbers.
Dexa says, what NFC surprise team makes the playoffs? I'll go Bears. You guys have any surprise teams make the playoffs in the NFC?
Cardinals.
In the NFC?
Nice. NFC period, yeah.
Oh, man, I mean, that's tough. Like, I don't. If there's any surprise team, Carolina Panthers.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Right. Would the Buccaneers technically be surprising, or that they?
Nah.
Well,
No, they made it
There's
last
not a
year,
lot of
didn't they?
yeah,
they-
no,
they
they're,
made- they
I
got-
feel like
they've been there
they're
a couple
expected
years.
to make it.
Yeah, they're kind
this
of
way.
expected. The tough part is there's not really a team this year that's teams in NFC that are really. I mean, the Cardinals might be as good an answer as any on this because there's. I mean, maybe the Bears. They just feel like they got a long
Yeah.
way to go, and even the Panthers kind of Panther. We'll go with Panthers. It's tough though. I don't like Cowboys.
The
look like they're
division kind of
resetting.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
All right, on the way out, Dave wants a Christopher
He's
Walken
not worth
playing
it.
clock. He's not worth it.
I went to the owner and I said, "Listen, give me the general manager. He's so tiny. Look at him, little tiny hands, little tiny arms. He's frail. You're gonna give $53 million for frailty? No, not me. I trade him. Give me Aaron. I went and did some ayahuasca with him. He's fun. He's really fun."
Nice, perfect, on the
Love
fly. That's great. Listen, thank you everybody for tuning in. NFC West Roundtable link is pinned to the top of the chat. Go subscribe over there. That's where this show normally is housed. However, during the off season, we will be doing this a couple times a month on all of our channels. So stay tuned to that. Thank you guys for doing this on a whim, and everybody in the chat who supported, super chatted, what have you. We appreciate you. Much love. Talk soon. Peace.
Go Cardinals.